Good morning, everyone. I'm Teresa Green, and this is Mindful Monday. Today, I wanted to do a talk about being mindful about how we talk to ourselves. There's a lot of research that shows that healthy self-talk can make a really big difference in our mood, in our outlook, and even our health. So, to talk about that today, I want first to mention that everybody has self-talk. You may not consciously be aware of it, but just about everybody in the world talks to themselves as they go along. Becoming mindful of that self-talk can make a really big difference in how you go about your day. I have an example of this from my own life from yesterday. It snowed here recently, and so yesterday I went to work, and when I got there, I found that things hadn't been plowed very well. So I'm going to try to first give you as close as possible to a completely objective list of the things that happened yesterday. And then I'll give you one with this sort of mindless self-talk, which often tends to be more of a risk assessment kind of talk rather than an uplifting kind of talk. And then the last version of it will be the version that I decided I wanted to have that still had all of the facts, was still completely true, but ended up having a much better feeling at the end of it. So I left home about an hour before I needed to be at work. I got there, I realized that while the parking lot was completely clear of snow and ice, that there was a strip just before you got to the sidewalk part of my office, going up about halfway up to the door of the office that had a lot of snow and a lot of ice on it. So I went inside, I went upstairs, I texted the people who I saw in the morning to warn them if that was the case and to offer to let them reschedule, especially since I had one person who had recently gotten over a surgery, and so I didn't want, especially for them, to risk them falling. When the first person came, they came with no problem. They were on time. They came in, we had our treatment. As we were leaving, she mentioned that she had seen a bucket out in the lobby area of the building I'm in, and she thought it probably contained salt for using to help with the ice and snow. So I went downstairs with her. When I went out, she was correct. That's what was there. There was not very much salt, so I put it down across a small area. And then the next person came in, and by that time the ice and snow had melted, so they went upstairs and my day progressed. So that's the objective version. Here's the version of sort of mindless self-talk where you tend to look for the negative. Now, I'll take a quick break to tell you that things that people are studying now, researchers studying how the brain works, says that our natural tendency is to look for bad things when we're going through our day. That's a survival instinct. It really doesn't matter so much how pretty the flowers are if you're about to be eaten by a tiger. So it's much more important to your nervous system that you're scanning the horizon looking for tigers than that you're scanning the horizon looking for pretty flowers. In the place where most of us live, we'll be seeing this video, where there's not that kind of danger. It's very unhealthy because there's so many things in the technology world, so many fast-moving cars, so many details kind of flashing at us all the time, that we end up seeing threats a lot of times where there aren't any, and certainly where the threats are more of a low-level stressor rather than a major life or death threat. So being able to expand our mindfulness and our self-talk to include things that are not threats is really important for our overall health. So here's the threat-seeking version of the events yesterday. So I managed to get out towards the office a little bit early, and I got to the office with no problem. There was not a lot of traffic on the road. When I got there, I expected to find a perfectly clear way into the office, and I didn't. There was ice and snow over enough of the area that no one could get into my office without the ice or the snow. So immediately I was concerned. I thought, what if somebody slips? What if somebody can't make it? What if I have to rearrange my schedule? I decided to try to do that. And when I did, my thought immediately was, well, now I'm going to come in on an off day, and I may end up, if the schedule doesn't work right, I may end up having to come in 2 days when I would normally come in one, and my week was going to be all messed up. I'd written out a schedule for how I wanted my week to go, and now this wasn't going to happen. So I went upstairs, I texted people. First person didn't get the text in time, so I thought, oh no, she's going to come and see that it's messed up, and this is going to be disappointing to her, and we're going to start off the treatment on a bad note. And when she came in, that didn't happen, but she came in, and so we had the treatment. She came down, and she said, when I was coming up here, I think I saw a bucket out there, and I think it has salt in it. And so I said, oh, well, I then I realized, yeah, there was a bucket out there, and the first time it showed up was just about the time of the previous snow that we'd had a week or so ago. And so I said, oh, well, I feel stupid because I didn't even think of that. So we went downstairs. Indeed, it was salt. She offered to help me spread the salt, but I didn't really need that help. But when I got out there, I realized it was going to take a few minutes to do that. I had to go back upstairs and get my coat because I didn't have it, and put my gloves on. And so as I'm doing that, I'm thinking, well, there goes my nice relaxing lunch. I'm going to have to give up my lunch to be able to get this sorted out, and then also have to go and prepare the room. And so I'm going to be flustered, and I really try very hard not to be flustered in my day. So that went through that thought pattern. Then the second person came, and we had texted back and forth a lot because she was the one that had had the surgery. And I several times said, I'm really a little nervous about you coming in. I'm really happy to reschedule it. And she said, no, that's fine. My husband will be with me. He'll make sure I'm okay. Everything's great. And so when she came, of course, she had no problem. She came in, went up. And so then the next, after the end of that treatment, I had to kind of regroup the things that I didn't get done between the first one because of putting the salt down on the snow. So finally I got to go home at the end of the day. And as I was going home, I thought, wow, that was a really stressful day. I had a really hard time through that day. And then finally, the coach in me kicked in. So then I reworked the day in my mind. I made a different narrative of how I saw the day. And that's the third thing I want to share. So the day starts out, this is the third positive one, and I did very well with my time management. I was able to get out the door early. I got there in plenty of time so that when I noticed that there was a problem with the ice and snow, I was able to take steps immediately to do my job as a healthcare practitioner and as the host in my office of taking care of the people. I notified the people that would be affected about the weather, and the first person who came in didn't get the message, but she was able to come in with no problem at all, so that was okay. And then as she left, she said, there was a bucket outside in the lobby in the office, and I think that was probably salt. And when I thought about it, I realized that was correct, and I thought that was wonderful because now I have access to what I need to be able to take better care of my patients. So I went downstairs. I was able to spread the salt around in plenty of space to be able to get enough room for someone to come through and to come through safely with no problem. And when I came back downstairs later on, it was perfect. It was a very nice, clear area. The next person who I was concerned about because of their health history of having the surgery, they had no problem whatsoever getting up. They appreciated the fact that I was looking out for them. And then at the end of the day, when I went home, I was able to congratulate myself on handling things. And the amount of time that I spent trying to rearrange everything, it was different from what I had expected, but I handled it well. I had brought food that was very good, but also very easy to eat, so that I didn't need a lot of extra time to set everything up. And so by the end of the day, after I'd had time to think about it, instead of everything being a burden and being a problem and being something to get me flustered and get me upset, I realized that what I had had was a day of several things going very right, going very positively, and that I had a day of handling things in a very mature way and of solving problems, that I had been a problem solver with minimal difficulty, minimal hassle, and everything I needed to get done in the day had still gotten done. So the end of the day, it took me until the end of the day, but by the end of the day, I was able to congratulate myself on a job well done instead of feeling bad and feeling flustered and feeling like my day had not gone as planned. So that's an example of how self-talk can change how you feel about your day. As I was driving home, I felt much better than I had throughout the day when I kept seeing these little blips as being problems instead of being challenges that I handled well. And I also left feeling like a confident person that could handle things instead of constantly feeling overwhelmed by every little thing that came up. I'd like to say that that took care of me and my self-talk issues and that I handled things very well after that. I'm still growing in that area. So positive self-talk is I'm growing in that area, not that I don't do it very well yet. So this morning I had a friend text me, and she knows about some of the health things I have going on with my cancer journey. I'm a survivor now, but it's there's always, anyone who's had cancer before understands there's always kind of that little tidbit in the corner of, this could come back. And so it's also recovery. I had chemo, and there's a lot of physical recovery from that. And so my practice is not as busy as it used to be on purpose because I need to give myself time to heal. And so she had asked me some questions about my practice, and I told her that I was seeing a lot fewer people now than I'm used to, not because of lack of interest, but because I just don't have the energy to give my best self to a full practice yet. And she said, well, the key is consistency. Just keep doing what you can do and give it time to grow. And that was the exact right thing to say. But I had my initial thought was, well, I used to see 3 or 4 times this number of people with no problem at all, so it doesn't feel great. And then I realized, hey, Teresa, you're about to make a video on self-talk. Maybe you should practice what you're about to try to preach to people. So I told her exactly that. I'm about to make a video on self-talk, and I'm doing extremely well considering how things have gone the past year. I'm right on track for things growing and getting better, and that I'm very happy to have the health that I have and to be able to do the things that I'm doing. So I hope that maybe this example of self-talk can help you when you're facing things. So as you go through your day for this week, be mindful of what you actually say to yourself. When somebody cuts in front of you in traffic, do you say, oh, come on, I can't believe it? Or do you take the time to say, all right, this person's obviously having more trouble with their day than I am. If they feel the need to cut in front of me in traffic, I'm going to give myself time. I'm going to slow down and give them space because I have the abundance to be able to be more patient. That's a long-winded way of saying something, but you get the idea. You can take everything that comes in your life and you can choose. Now, you may not in the heat of the moment always be able to choose at that moment, but as you go through your day, you can continue to learn how to choose, to see your narrative as a positive thing unspinning with a competent person, that's you, going through your day, handling the challenges that come up, and if a challenge comes up that just isn't really handleable, that you manage to get through it anyway, that you got through the day, that you give yourself credit for everything you can give yourself credit for because your entire system, your immune system, your nervous system, your endocrine system hears that. When your nervous system hears constantly, I'm capable, I'm competent, I'm handling life that comes to me, and even when things don't go the way I want them to go, I'm able to be resilient and overcome it, even if overcoming it looks like I need to take a nap now. That gives your immune system and your endocrine system and your nervous system the idea that things are okay, which means you're less likely to go into fight or flight mode, which also means we now know you're less likely to go into the mode of overfunctioning of an immune system. They call it overfunctioning. It's actually more of an exhausted immune system trying to handle too many things coming at it, an overwhelmed immune system that leads to things like autoimmune diseases. Endocrine function, the same thing. A lot of the different hormones that you make, in fact all of them, change dramatically based on how your body sees what's going on around it. If it feels threatened, it makes completely different amounts and timing of hormones so that you're not able to function as well in a day-to-day life if you're dealing in a fight or flight mode. So having your nervous system feel like you're in a life where things may be unexpected but you can handle them is a very positive thing to do for yourself. And even if right now you don't feel that, that's where the self-talk comes in. You can give yourself an alternate view of what's going on in your day. So if you're exhausted, you can say, I've worked hard, I'm very tired, and now I'm going to practice self-care and give myself what I need. Now, sometimes that means some other work, and that's where health coaching comes in, that's where reading some books comes in, that's where maybe listening to some podcasts or seeing a therapist comes in. Because if you feel overwhelmed because you're giving too much and you don't feel like you can take the time to give yourself self-care, then that's a boundaries issue. That's a personal growth issue where you need to be able to make room in your life for the things that help you to be your best self. So to wind up our Mindful Monday today, we talked about self-talk. We talked about being mindful of what you talk to yourself, so kind of subconsciously or mindlessly, about the tone of how you say things to yourself, whether your narrative ends up as a powerful story of someone who had good things happen and overcame adversity, or whether it's the story of someone who feels like they're overwhelmed and in over their head. And that choosing to have the more heroic sounding narrative where you take action on things that happen and good things happen to you makes a huge difference in how your nervous system and the rest of your body functions. So until next week, have a wonderful week, and I hope you enjoyed this Mindful Monday. Please feel free to share this video if you found it helpful, and you can go to my website, which there'll be a link for that under YouTube, to learn more. Right now the website is still under construction, but hopefully by the time you're seeing this and in a couple of weeks, you'll be able to see a very nice, cool new website. Have a great day.